British Petroleum warns United States Congress. BP is warning Congress that if lawmakers pass legislation that bars the company from getting new offshore drilling permits, it may not have the money to pay for all the damages caused by its oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The company says a ban would also imperil the ambitious Gulf Coast restoration efforts that officials want the company to voluntarily support. BP executives insist that they have not backed away from their commitment to the White House to set aside $20 billion in an escrow fund over the next 4 years to pay damage claims and government penalties stemming from the April 20th explosion of the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig. The explosion killed 11 workers and spewed millions and millions of barrels of oil into the Gulf of Mexico. The company has also agreed to contribute $100 million to a foundation to support rig workers who have lost their jobs because of the administration's deepwater drilling moratorium. And it pledged $500 million for a 10-year research program to study the impact of the oil spill. In other words, this oil spill is going to be with us for a long time. But as state and federal officials, individuals, and businesses continue to seek additional funds beyond the minimum fines and compensation that BP must pay under the law, the company has signaled its reluctance to cooperate unless it can continue to operate in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf accounts for 11% of its global production. So BP is saying, let them drill anywhere, anytime, anyhow, anyway. If we are unable to keep those fields going, that is going to have a substantial impact on our cash flow, said BP's executive vice president for BP America in an interview. That, he added, makes it harder for us to fund things, to fund these programs. Payments as bargaining chips. The requests keep coming for BP to provide additional money to the Gulf Coast to help mitigate the effects of the spill. This week, Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana, said his request that BP finance a 5-year, $173 million program to test, certify, and promote Gulf seafood was still needed. BP has already agreed to pay for some measures that exceed its legal obligations. For instance, to help promote tourism in affected regions, it donated $32 million to Florida's marketing efforts and $15 million each to Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. But the company, which is based in London, now appears to be using such voluntary payments as a bargaining chip with American lawmakers. BP is particularly concerned about a drilling overhaul bill passed by the House on July 30th. The bill includes an amendment that would bar any company from receiving permits to drill on the outer continental shelf if more than 10 fatalities had occurred at its offshore or onshore faculties. It would also bar permits if the company had been penalized with fines of $10 million or more under the Clean Air or Clean Water Acts within a 7-year period. While BP is not mentioned by name in the legislation, it is the only company that currently meets that description. The provision was written by Representative George Miller, Democrat of California, who is a strong environmental advocate and a close ally of Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker. It was specifically designed to punish BP for its past transgressions, including the Deepwater Horizon explosion, and deny the company access to American offshore oil and natural gas. The risk of having a dangerous company like BP develop new resources in the Gulf is too great. Year after year after year, no matter how many incidents or accidents they're involved in, no matter how many fines they've had to pay. They have never changed their behavior. BP has no one to blame but themselves. In other words, BP puts money over safety. That's what they've been doing for a long time. BP defends commitments. BP's concerns are becoming public as the company begins final preparations for supposedly permanently sealing its stricken whale. On Thursday, it removed the temporary cap on top of the whale, which had earlier been blocked with cement, so that it could replace the blowout preventer. The blowout preventer, a massive piece of equipment whose valves failed to shut down the oil flow after the explosion, is a crucial piece of evidence in the investigation. But anyway, oil is still leaking, or seeping up from the seafloor, or the seabed, all around the whale. Andrew Gowers, a BP spokesman, said that BP has shown goodwill by going beyond its legal obligations to clean up the spill and compensate those affected. He said, "We have committed to do a number of things that are not part of the formal agreement with the White House. We are not making a direct statement about anything we are committed to do. We are just expressing frustration, but our commitments of goodwill have, at least in some quarters, been met with this kind of response." BP strategy includes Gulf. BP is the largest producer of oil and gas in the Gulf, pumping some 400,000 barrels a day and accounting for approximately 20% of total production from deepwater reservoirs in the region. The company operates 89 production wells and shares a stake in 60 of the wells operated by partner companies, and it views the Gulf of Mexico as a major growth area. As BP has tried to raise cash to pay for damages caused by the spill, it has suspended its dividend and intends to sell off as much as $30 billion of assets around the world. But the Gulf of Mexico remains crucial to the company's strategy and finances. Gulf is the most profitable barrel in BP's portfolio, said a managing director and senior oil analyst at Oppenheimer and Company. He estimated that the Gulf generated $5 to $7 billion in profits annually for BP, or about a quarter of the company's total. And again, there's something much more going on here, something much bigger. And more of this will play out in the future, because there's still more to come, because everything is connected and everything is numbered. Yes, it's time. In other words, it's time for the book of Revelations, because the Deepwater Horizon is a physical manifestation of the book of Revelation. 1 John chapter 5. Whosoever believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and every one that loves him that begot loves him also that is begotten of him. 2. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and keep his commandments. 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. 4. Whatsoever is born of God overcomes the world, and this is the victory that overcomes the world, even our faith. 5. Who is he that overcomes the world, but he that believes that Jesus is the Son of God? 6. This is he that came by water and blood, even Jesus Christ, not by water only, but by water and blood. And it is the Spirit that bears witness, because the Spirit is truth. 7. For there are three that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost, and these three are one. 8. And there are three that bear witness in earth, the Spirit, and the water, and the blood, and these three agree in one. 9. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of God is greater. But this is the witness of God, which he has testified of his Son. And all these are more signs of the end times transition days, which is a continuing day-by-day process all around the world.